How can we improve morale and prevent burnout in the face of teacher shortages and public scrutiny? Well, in my 20 plus years working with educational leaders, I've witnessed firsthand how the compounding pressures of teacher shortages and increased public scrutiny create a perfect storm for burnout. As a previous fellow educational leader confided, Kim, I feel like we're trying to bail water from a sinking ship while simultaneously being criticized for getting the floor wet. I understand. You see, this challenge isn't just about retention statistics. It's about preserving the heart and soul of our educational communities. So let's explore this issue through the lens of mistakes, mindsets, and methods. Let's start with predictable traps. You see, many well-intentioned administrators fall into predictable traps when addressing teacher morale. First, relying solely on extrinsic motivators. Pizza parties and gene days, they have their place, but they're band-aids on deeper wounds. Next, implementing reactive but not proactive measures. So waiting until exit interviews to address concerns means you're already too late. Followed by overlooking the power of autonomy. As Daniel Pink notes, control leads to compliance. Autonomy leads to engagement. The fourth area is assuming one-size-fits-all solutions. Teachers, like students, have diverse needs that require differentiated support. And last but not least, adding initiatives without removing others. Now, I'll have to be honest with you, this is something I have done in the past too. So I'm talking to myself as well as to you. You see, each program or requirement that doesn't replace an existing one simply adds to the burden. So we've looked at some mistakes. Let's now talk about how we think. Because if we want to improve teacher morale, it requires us to have a fundamental shift in how we think about educational leadership. First, recognize that teacher well-being isn't separate from student achievement. It is a prerequisite to it. Research consistently shows that teacher well-being has a direct impact on student outcomes. Second, understand that addressing burnout isn't about making teachers tougher. It's about creating systems that allow talented educators to thrive. As Brené Brown reminds us, you can't armor your way through vulnerability. And finally, acknowledge that this work requires genuine partnership. Teachers need to be co-creators of solutions, not recipients of top-down mandates. Now, is there a time and place for top-down mandates? Yes, there is. But it should not be the primary way of work. So, if it's not the primary way of work, what are some practical approaches to address this particular topic? Well, here are 5 practical approaches that successful districts are implementing. The first approach is create meaningful time and space. So I want you to audit existing time commitments and eliminate non-essential meetings. Protect planning periods as sacred, uninterrupted time and schedule regular wellness activities within the calendar year. Next, amplify teacher voice and agency. Establish teacher advisory councils with direct access to administration. Implement regular anonymous feedback mechanisms. And include teachers in budget and policy decisions that affect their work. The third is develop supportive professional communities. Foster mentor relationships that focus on well-being, not just pedagogy. Create communities of practice where teachers can find authentic connections. And implement peer observation models that create and celebrate growth, not evaluation. The fourth practice is advocate beyond your walls. So partner with local media to highlight teacher successes. Engage with policymakers about regulatory burdens. Build community understanding about educational challenges. And the fifth practice is model sustainable leadership. So I want you to demonstrate healthy boundaries around email and work hours. You can also share your own professional challenges and growth. And last but not least, normalize conversations about mental health and well-being. Remember what educational leadership expert Michael Fullan emphasizes. He said, the principal's role is to lead the school's teachers in a process of learning to improve their teaching while learning alongside them about what works and what doesn't. So now that you have the 5 practices, you're asking yourself, now what, Kim? Well, you know I always give you a challenge. So this week, I challenge you to implement 3 specific actions. The first action is to schedule individual check-ins with 5 teachers you haven't spoken with recently, asking them, what's one thing we could change that would make your work more sustainable? Your second action for this week is to identify and eliminate one administrative task that doesn't directly serve student learning. I know that's a tough one because having been a principal myself, I know how challenging that is. But I have faith and confidence in you that you can do it better than I did. And the third challenge for you this week is create a morale team comprising diverse stakeholders to develop a comprehensive well-being strategy. Here's the reality of the world that we currently live in when it comes to education. The teacher shortage crisis won't be solved overnight. I know you know that. Still, by consistently prioritizing teacher well-being, you build the foundation for a thriving school culture where both educators and students can flourish. What first step will you take today?